Welcome to Sun in the Occult, where the hidden, unseen, secret, and sacred aspects of reality is brought forth to the light. I want to start out by saying peace to my divine family. Today I want to speak about a subject matter that is quite common to a lot of, seekers on the spiritual path. And what that is what does it mean to be on a spiritual journey? A lot of people make reference to the fact that, I'm on my spiritual journey or I'm going on a spiritual journey. So today I want to discuss what does that mean to be on a spiritual journey. Now, for one, I want to break it down, in sequence as what is a journey, right? We all know a journey is a long trip, which implies traveling from one point to another. Also, in a journey, there's a starting point, and there should be a destination or an end point. Thirdly, the expectation that it will require or take time to reach, and also ground to cover. So there's an aspect of time and space when you're taking a trip or you're going on a journey, right? Also, what is the purpose for which this trip is taken in the first place? Like, why am I traveling on this trip? To what purpose? To what end? Right? So that's kind of the ideal of what a journey is. So when you say I'm on a journey, that's what that implies. And then secondly, I want to speak about what is it? What is the spiritual? What is it? What does spirit mean? What is spirit? Now, when you say to be highly spirited, right, that usually implies of someone that's very enthusiastic or full of energy. Secondly, or what is deemed to be intangible or immaterial, something contained within the body, or an unseen entity, a ghost, or something operating on a subtle energy level that is not hardly detectable or which is unseen, right? So when you say spirit, this is what you're implying. You're speaking to all of those different aspects. Now when you put it together and you say that I'm on a spiritual journey, basically you mixing those two things together to say that, well, I'm in search or I'm on the path to discover something that is unseen or immaterial or something that can't be grasped, right? So many people in life, go through many of what we call spiritual journeys where they're seeking something for a certain amount of time, right? And it's a reoccurring thing, right? Many people on a particular path or spiritual path usually is on this journey for a lifetime. And in most cases, in all reality, it actually takes many different lifetimes. So, it's actually said that, we come to this planet as a soul through many different incarnations. And in that incarnation, if you are presently here in this incarnation and you're still seeking, then that means that you have not reached the point of actualization or the point of awakening. So I kind of want to discuss what is it that we're actually seeking and on this particular path. What does that mean? What am I in search of? And how do I know when I've reached it, when I've attained the goal, or I've hit that final destination point, right? So this is the thing. Most people that's traveling along, a spiritual journey doesn't really have an idea of what it looks like to reach the culminating point, to reach the point of where that what you are seeking for has now been found, right? I found that which I was seeking, so I no longer have to seek any longer. That's the aim, right? So we're in search of something ultimately, and really, the reality of it is that the culminating point of that search is in search of truth, right? We're all seeking truth. We want to find out, what is truth? Is there this thing, this ideal of truth? And how do I determine what truth is from falsehood? Now, when you consider those two things, those two parallels, truth and falsehood, right? That's something that's relative because it can be applied to different things. Well, what is the truth of this subject? What is the truth of that subject? Or, right, ultimately, is there an absolute truth? Right? Just an absolute truth to where there's a certain point to which you cannot go beyond. This is it. This is the ultimate reality. This is what we're all seeking to understand. And when you put that in context, what does that mean? You know, you got to consider a lot of different things. Now, we live on the planet Earth, and on the planet Earth, right, this is a living planet. We live on the planet, but the planet is also contained within a universe where there's other planets, there's other celestial spheres that's governing and ruling a particular region of the universe, and we are on one particular planet having an experience that's traveling and traversing through a particular bigger spectrum, right? So most people that's here and they're on a spiritual journey, you know, a lot of people are trying to figure out what is the meaning of their life. Others want to know what is the ultimate meaning of all life, all existence, not just concerned with what's going on here on planet Earth, but, you know, what's going on other planets, like what's going on in the solar system, what's going on in the galaxy, right? Like, what is the operating, the modus of operandum? What is that thing that is compelling all of these things to take its form and shape and its place in order and arrangement in the universe, right? And where is our place in it? So when you say you're on a spiritual journey, this is basically what you're looking for. You're trying to figure out, what is my place in the scheme of the whole, right? So that's going to take you down many different, you know, paths. Now, you got many people that's on a so-called spiritual journey that go through many different ideologies, many different spiritual practices, many different religions, many different traditions, many different principles, right? Before they come to the culmination of what they can identify as, you know, the end point, you know, the final point that you reach to where you can say that, okay, I've had an awakening, right? Which means I've gained realization of what truth is, right? So, you know, it's going to take many different people down many different roads. Now, as you go down those roads, as many of us have been, you get to certain degrees of knowledge and information and awareness in this particular area, on this particular topic, in regards to life in that particular realm or scheme of things. But then, you know, the universe is multifaceted. So even though you may be looking at, or you may be speaking of things on one particular plane, there's many different layers of many different dimensions and planes to which we can be speaking about these things on, or speaking about life on, right? So, for example, when you consider what you are on a spiritual journey, I can look at myself and say, okay, well, what am I, right? I'm a human being, right? I live on the planet. I live amongst other human beings, but also as a human being, right, I have to share the planet with the other kingdoms. We have the animal kingdom, we have the vegetative kingdom, right? We have the mineral kingdom, and these are all the different four kingdoms that's on this planet that we are interacting and interrelating and interconnecting with, right? So to put it in context, okay, where is my place as a human being? And then we can go even further than that, because amongst human beings, you got subcultures, right? Nationalities and ethnicities to compartmentalize and break that up even further, right? I'm a human being, but not only am I a human being, I'm an African American, right? I'm of African descent. I live in America, right? So, it's different layers to what we're identifying with when we try to identify with who and what we are. But ultimately, what you're seeking to find is the source. What is, if you are a truth seeker, then you're seeking the source. You want to find out what is the essence of my being, right? What is the sum total of that which I am, that I identify as myself? What is that, right? So again, like I said, being a human being, you have a physical body, right? You also have a mind, right? You have emotions, right, which is an emotional body. You also have a vital body, which means that there's a part to this physical existence that's something that's permeating and animating and giving life and motion to the physical molecular structure, right? So even when you're looking at yourself, there's layers to that which you are. And this spiritual journey is to uncover, to find out, and peel back each layer, right? Till you get to, the core of your being, the source and the essence. And that's ultimately what we're seeking. But many people on a spiritual path, or, when they say I'm on a spiritual path, right? Ultimately, what that means in most cases is that I'm seeking, when I say I'm seeking truth, that means I'm seeking God. I'm seeking the Creator, right? So there's going to be some type of investigation that's done towards trying to figure out what is God, this idea of God, a creator of the universe, right? A creator of life, the sustainer, the creator, right? And also the destroyer, the whole aspect of who this creator is. And so you're seeking to figure out what that is, but many paths, especially in the world, it's going to lead you to a path that actually separates you from this particular idea of a creator. So, okay, here I have my place as a human being, and then there's a creator or a supreme being or higher power that's above and controlling this universe that I live in, right? But some spiritual paths, it's going to lead you to investigate that from an exoteric viewpoint. When you look at it from external references, right? Everything is physical and external. And so you're looking for the source or this creator, but you're looking for it outside of yourself, right? So you search the whole world, you're looking around, right? As you go through life and you're investigating, you're looking around, you want to know, is God here? Is God there? Where is God? This whole idea of what we say God is, right? So again, that's ultimately what you are implying when you say that you're on a spiritual journey. So I just want to kind of speak to all my divine beings out there who is really in a space in their life where they're still seeking, they're uncertain about who they are, they're uncertain about their place in life and scheme of thing, and basically what's really going on. What is the truth regarding the life that we're living, right? This is what we are all trying to investigate. Now, the purpose, right? What is the purpose of seeking truth? I mean, because ultimately there has to be a purpose behind it. Now, if you consider what's going on in your own life, in your lifetime, right, and you ask yourself, well, what is the greatest, essential purpose of my life, and what do I want out of life? If you was to ask yourself that, you have to come to, the idea that, okay, well, I'm seeking happiness. Ultimately, what we all want out of life, even though we may travel down the path to attain that happiness in different ways, but ultimately what we really want is to be happy. Happiness. Everyone wants happiness. So you may think that you may need to acquire certain things, and as a result of acquiring this thing, then you're going to be happy once you get it. Or you might feel like there's a particular goal that I want to accomplish, and once I accomplish the goal, then I'll be happy, my happiness will come then, or whatever. But ultimately, we're seeking happiness. So if you're still in a point in your life where in this search for truth and happiness on this spiritual journey that you're on, if you're in a space right now presently while you're listening to this video and you can't readily say that you are happy in the present moment, not with or because of some type of achievement or accomplishment or something that you've acquired, but just a state of being where your happiness and you're not in search of any type of fulfillment outside of your natural state of being. If joy is not emanating from you naturally, when you wake up to the day, you just don't find joy, you're not in a joyous space where everything you find appreciation for, you look at it and I appreciate it, I'm enjoying the moment, everything about my life, when I look here and there, I find joy in it, right? Because that's ultimately what fulfillment is to be in a state of perpetual joy, a joy that doesn't end. Now, usually in the world that we're living in, right, if you're seeking this happiness, things, materialistic things outside of yourself, ultimately, you may feel like once I accomplish this thing, or I acquire this thing, or I attain this particular thing, I'll be happy once I obtain it. But even, since we were children, we had this concept of seeking happiness in material things. And even as a child, if you look at any little kid, right, as a parent, your little kid wants toys, right? There's an urge and a yearning to have this particular object or this toy that they're desiring. And then you ever notice that when you go out and you present the kid with the toy, initially the kid is very euphoric, it's happy, ecstatic about receiving it. But if you pay attention to, most kids, as even with yourself when you were young, eventually once you did obtain that particular object, after a while, you had it, you played with it, you was fascinated by it, and then at some point, it wasn't enough. I have it, I know what this thing is about, and then now what? What's next? There's not anything more to this, and then all of a sudden, slowly but surely, you lose interest in it, and then that particular object is laying to the side, and there's no more interest in it, and then you're off seeking something else that you feel is going to bring you happiness, right? And this is the way that we live our whole lifetimes, over and over as a child, and we continue to repeat this pattern over and over, right? So it's those that have a calling or inner calling or urge to seek something that's higher, right? And if that's you on the other side listening to this video, then you're in the right place, because this is what I'm speaking about, and these are the people that this message is for. So with that being said, again, those that are seeking, this is what we're seeking for. We're seeking ultimately for happiness. So that's what the journey is about. But the thing about it is, we all realize that in this particular journey, right, that's what it is. I'm going to start now, but I know that it's going to take time for me to get to the final destination and the point where I'll actually find what I'm seeking ultimately, which is the truth, that thing that leads to happiness, right, or fulfillment. But anything that takes you outside of the source, outside of the essence of what you are, to understanding what you are as a divine being, anything that takes you away from that is going to take you on a journey that's not headed in a direction for what you're ultimately seeking. And that's what's happening to many people in this lifetime. Many people are on that journey, but they're aimlessly moving through life, constantly being, distracted by this thing, that thing, this thing, that thing, but still seeking and yearning for something that they have not, reached the level of. They haven't attained it, right? So if you're in a point in your life right now where still you can't say to yourself that I'm happy as I am right now in my life, and I'm not in need or in search of anything outside of what I have in this particular moment, then you have not found that yet, right? And so that's the whole thing. And we're going to talk about this subject matter more in depth on more videos as I go through, this year and speaking about these different subjects. But for the most part, just want to kind of bring some understanding to what we mean and what people are really saying when they say I'm on that spiritual journey, and kind of give context to what that means. All right, so my divine beings, until next time, we'll see you again. Peace.